So in this season of About Jobs TV, we're looking at why you should work for a startup.
Spartans! What is your profession? No retreat, no surrender. That is Spartan law.
Today, we're going to be talking about so many exciting things. First of all, we're going to interview Mr. McIver, who is the CEO of a startup, like a typical startup in Africa. You're going to look at research, documentation on the top 10 startups in Africa. They started with almost nothing, and now they are top in the world. We're going to also be looking at 5 tips for you to survive while working for a startup. So sit tight, watch till the end, and make sure you subscribe to this channel.
So everybody's telling you quit your job and start a business. But have you ever thought that running a business might be just as challenging or even more than keeping your job? Keeping Your Job is a book that was written to help you know what you need to do to actually retain that position as the employee and move yourself forward up the ladder. Some people actually go out of paid employment because they are frustrated, they don't know how to fight in corporate politics, they don't know how to get the promotion that they want. So they think that the easier route is starting a business, only to find out that it's more difficult and you need the same fight that you didn't put in the place of employment. So instead of going through that whole process, there's a book called Keeping Your Job. Keeping Your Job gives you insight on what the employer thinks after 5 years. After 5 years, the employer is trying to get rid of you. How can you make them change their mind? There's something called the dinosaur employee, and that's the employee that begins to think that the new guy that comes in is bringing in innovation because he just doesn't know that it won't work. Are you the dinosaur employee? Get Keeping Your Job today and get tools and tips to hold on to your job in a dynamic labor market and push yourself up the ladder in the company where you are. You won't regret it. Keeping Your Job.
You've seen the startups that we have in Africa, but there are real issues that you face while working for a startup. And so here are 5 tips you need to know when you're working for a startup. 1 is you need to have a goal. The second is you need to build resilience. Third is you need to stretch and earn. Fourth, you need to get returns. And 5, take your medal. So we'll go through each of these steps. So step 1, have a goal. Before you want to work for a startup, understand what you want to get out of the transaction. Either you want to get experience, you want to get exposure, you want to get out of the house, or you want to get some cash or some pocket money. Have a goal before you go to negotiate when you're working for a startup. Step 2, build resilience. In the real world of work, emotions do not transact. So if somebody did something to upset you and you start crying, it wouldn't make them fire the other person. It won't make them give you what you want. And if you've never worked, you've never gotten the opportunity to build resilience against challenges. So that environment in a startup is the best environment for you to build resilience. Sometimes people say in startups they don't pay them for 3 months. You know what happens to someone that is not being paid for 3 months? We need to understand that there's finances to make beyond his salary. But the one who has been paid consistently lives in and within his salary. Step 3, stretch and earn. Understand that within a startup, that is the opportunity that you have to do job rotation. You'll be told to do the work of the cleaner, do the work of the accountant, do the work of the facility manager. Some people grumble and say, but that's not my job. I tell you that with every exposure you get to a new skill, you are beginning to get more value that you can exchange for money in a bigger opportunity. So the more you stretch in a startup, the more you are able to earn. Step 4, get returns. So now you have been able to work in that startup. But if you start a project for a startup and you do not finish it, you do not convert your skills to money, like Mr. McIver said, you are not going to get returns on the time that you have invested there. So sometimes somebody says, oh, I left the job because somebody said something nasty to me. You left without getting your returns. Oh, I was uncomfortable. You left without getting your returns. So when you are working for a startup, ensure you get your returns. And finally, step 5, get your medal. How do you get your medal? Most people who are working as CFOs in large organizations have been able to boast of transforming smaller organizations into larger spaces. So you will be able to achieve in that space and articulate your achievements. Once you're able to do that and document it in your LinkedIn profile or your CV, you are going to attract the opportunity that you've always dreamed of. So that is how to survive when working for a startup. I hope these tips have helped you. So sit tight and make sure you subscribe to this channel.